What's up, everyone? I'm Jenny.
And I'm Jessie.
You're listening to Milkshakes and Ghosts.
This episode is brought to you by
Sinister Brew Coffee isn't your ordinary cup of joe. It's a bold, horror-themed, small-batch coffee company owned by veterans who dare to take your taste buds on a dark and delicious journey.
From cosmic creations to cryptid-inspired blends, every roast comes with a sinister twist. Handcrafted for those who crave something truly unique.
It's not just coffee. It's an experience steeped in mystery, macabre storytelling, and flavors that are to die for.
Dare to sip in the shadows and join the Sinister family at sinisterbrewcoffee.com.
Where every cup reminds you that the darkness is delicious.
Warning. This podcast episode contains sensitive and possibly disturbing information regarding religion and mental health. Listener discretion is advised.
It might not be cold, but I'm loving my hot cocoa and marshmallows.
Oh, baby, thank you so much for making me a cup. I'm so happy you did because I'm feeling a little exhausted. So just walking in the kitchen and seeing that nice hot cup of cocoa really made the difference in my day. You made me smile.
Girl, your mama, I gotta look out for you. Besides, it was like Valentine's Day, so of course I would make something for you. You're my mama.
That's right. We are recording on Valentine's Day. Now, for all of you listening, you will not be getting this episode on Valentine's. By the time you hear this, Valentine's would have already passed. We wanted to wish all you ghost enthusiasts and milkshake drinkers a Happy Valentine's Day. So, folks, we're not drinking milkshakes today, if you haven't heard.
We're sure not. Like I just said, we're drinking Sinister Brew, hot cocoa, and marshmallows. Oh my god, it's to die for.
Girl, it really is. It's so soothing. Now, we just need to be in front of a fireplace to set the scene. That would be amazing. As much as I don't like the cold, I'm kind of missing it right now because this hot cocoa is really making me feel like I want to be in cold weather right now, right in front of a fireplace. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that would be perfect. And it needs to be sweater weather too.
I love sweater weather. I can never say that word. Now, if I can remain inside for the whole day because I hate the cold, that would be great because I love the clothing for cold weather. And I love me some boots with oversized sweaters. What?
Oversized sweaters are the best. Like, wow.
This hot cocoa is bringing back definitely those cold weather vibes. You know, we just need that fireplace. Sinister Brew is delicious. I usually drink their coffee. This is the first time I'm tasting this hot cocoa. This is really good. Best hot cocoa I've ever had in my life.
It sure is. As much as I would like to keep the conversation going with banter, we cannot do that today, sadly, so.
We're going to be discussing a very sensitive topic. Our listener warning was given at the beginning of this episode for that reason.
Majority of our episodes are pretty safe for a slightly younger audience, but this one is not. So if you have little ones around you, tell them to play in the next room, or just tune into this episode later on.
If you're not a horror movie lover like Jessie and I, then you've probably come across a movie where there's an exorcism or two. Even if you're a bit squeamish about the genre, you've probably absorbed the general image of an exorcist. You know, the one with the single priest.
I swear, with every scary movie though, there is some sort of demonic possession that happens and it only has one priest in it, who's usually wearing like a black coat and a hat.
That's usually the attire followed with a cross and a book of prayers, of course, clutched in one of their hands.
Next to the priest is usually someone spitting up what looks like pea soup, and then their head starts spinning around.
That's facts, man. But the question is it real?
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's depending on who you ask.
As most of you are aware, Jesse and I are skeptics of the paranormal. That doesn't mean we don't believe that it's not real.
That's such a fact, because we've seen and experienced things that are very real, but we've also debunked a lot more things that others claim to be what they consider haunted, evil, or even cursed.
We're actually going through that right now. I don't know, for those of you out there, if you follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, we're on all social platforms. We've posted footage regarding the events that have taken place in our home recently. There was a crime committed outside of our home, right in the back of our area. Kind of right in the back of our home, like literally the street in back of my backyard. And after that happened, a lot of strange occurrences started taking place. So I don't know what to say about it. All I know is that we're going through a lot right now, and we are still being skeptical because that's just us. We believe there is a reason for it all. However, some of the things happening, we have yet to discover that reason. If you guys want to know more, just follow us on any socials and catch up on the videos that we posted. And if you want to get a deeper dive in the information that I'm discussing right now, you can follow us on Patreon. Now, the problem with demonic possession is the hype televised by the media, when in reality, mental illness can play a key role into these circumstances. It doesn't mean that possession is not a real-life occurrence. In fact, possession is very real. Even ancient Mesopotamians believed that evil spirits needed to be cast away from a living person. Since then, this rite has become a feature to many cultures and religions across the globe. Some of the most famous tales of exorcisms have become notorious for their bone-chilling and downright horrific circumstances.
I think I learned about that in school.
Yeah, the Mesopotamians, you should have learned about that in history.
Well, we actually learned about just Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, yeah. In biblical scripture, Matthew chapter 8, verses 28 through 34, Jesus encounters two men who are possessed. The demons begged Jesus to take up a herd of nearby pigs. He allows them to do just that. The demons then cause the whole swine of pigs to throw themselves into the ocean. The book of Mark in the Bible also tells a similar story. Pre-Islamic Arabs believed that demons inspired poets, and Muhammad thought he was possessed by demons or influenced by them. In Hinduism, traditions of spirit possession include accounts of possession by the gods, demigods, ancestors, ghosts, and other spirit entities. Beliefs and practices regarding possession are often localized and may be mythology or nearby places and objects regarded as sacred. As in other parts of the world, spirit possession can either be positive or negative. In Judaism, the idea that a dead person can possess a living person emerged in the 16th century. Jewish belief in possession is different from Christian belief because Jews believed in dybbuk instead of demons. The concept of spirit possession also exists in Buddhism. Haitian Voodoo, Dominican Voodoo, Wicca, and Southeast Asian, African, and Native American traditions also believe in spirit possession. I'm not trying to sit here and preach about any religion. I'm trying to make a point. Not only does spirit possession date back to the 2nd and 3rd century. Mom, we're finally discussing something older than you.
Ha ha, very funny, Jesse. Ugh.
My point is, it doesn't matter what religion you are, possession is almost in every single one of them, and dates back to a time period where even my mom wasn't alive. It's older than you.
I'm not that old. Jeez, Jesse.
Are you sure about that? You're from the 1900s. That's pretty old.
Anyways, anytime you hear about someone being possessed, it sounds more like a horror movie. Big blockbuster hits like The Entity, The Exorcist, The Amityville Horror, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Haunting of Connecticut, and The Conjuring are great examples of that. Those movies were based on real-life events. However, money can't be made in the box office if those real-life events weren't embellished.
Oh, movies always have to be extra, or we never would have watched it, of course, actually. So,
Jesse, you and I laugh at horror movies. Anytime a movie has a lot of scary stuff, you and I find it funny.
I mean, that's true, because it's just silly, all the stuff they add. I feel like a lot of movie producers just try too hard. Scary movies should be, more real. And, when it gets fake and it looks fake, I'm gonna laugh.
Same, girl. However, there are movies that I've seen the actual documentary on, and I did not find it funny. Not even a little bit.
And which movies are that?
Of course, The Exorcist, and Netflix premiere, I believe it's called The Deliverance, if I'm not mistaken.
What was so different about those movies?
It wasn't the movie that scared me, okay? It was the documentary. For example, the real story of The Exorcist, it wasn't with a little girl, like the movie portrayed it. The real story that I read about and watched the documentary was actually with a little boy.
Really?
Yes. And in the movie of The Exorcist, let me just say that it was highly exaggerated. Like I said, I read and watched videos of the real documentary, and I'm really convinced that it really did happen. It was real, but nothing like the movie. The movie was just so extra.
What about the movie The Deliverance?
I liked that movie. I actually saw it with your dad. The Deliverance was a lot better than The Exorcist, I felt. Don't come at me, you guys out there. That was just my opinion. However, Netflix actually downplayed that one. I've read countless articles on what really happened, and I am really convinced that story was real as well. The real story, the true one, is actually a lot scarier than the movie.
Really? That's a lot coming from you.
Girl, after I read the real story, I actually had a hard time sleeping that night. And there were multiple witness accounts, by the way, for that possession regarding the Deliverance. So many eyewitness accounts.
Those movies I have yet to see.
Maybe when you're a little older, you can see them, just not now. I feel like that's just too much.
You always say that. You keep saying that every time I want to see a scary movie.
I'm just trying to protect you, even though sometimes we go through scarier things in real life.
Protect me from what?
Everything. I'm your mom.
Anyway, as great as all those movies are, the reality over the fiction is simply this. Can people become really possessed? Or is it a hidden mental disorder?
There was a story I read about nuns claiming possession in Loudun, France.
I've never heard that story.
It's very interesting. I won't get into it too much, just in case we decide to cover it at a later episode, which I'm kind of hoping we do.
Well, you already mentioned it, and my ears perked up.
All right, since you asked. So, a bunch of Ursuline nuns in France really did have a supposed run-in with the infernal. The trouble began in 1632. But the question is, as most things are, was it demonic possession or demonic obsession? Because of all of the hype with when it comes to demons and all of that stuff, majority of the time, I personally feel like it's not demonic possession. People would rather believe in something evil rather than face the truth of their loved ones being mentally ill. A reprinted book called The Penguin Book of Exorcism talks about that account.
Okay, what does it say?
A priest by the name of Urbain Grander came to the town of Loudun, France. Some of the local nuns started experiencing supposedly demonic activity in September of 1632. The nuns reportedly levitated, spoke in weird languages, and contorted themselves into uncomfortable positions. Soon, their exorcisms became known to the public. The people blamed it on the priest and condemned him. Eventually, He was arrested, tortured, and burned at the stake in August 1634.
What? That's insane. He's literally a priest. He's supposed to help.
They thought it was his fault since the nuns were supposedly fine before he came. So during his trial, prosecutors presented a pact that had supposedly been made between the priests and had the signatures and names of demons, including the devil himself.
It sounds like he was set up, almost like Salem witch trials.
I absolutely believe you're right in this one, and it really does sound like that. From what I was reading, people of the town either really liked him or really hated him.
That's scary how people back then were really quick to say possession or blame it on the devil. Anyway, those nuns were probably just bored and didn't like the priest. There were similar circumstances with the Salem witch trials.
Exactly. Before we begin to talk about what you guys really came here for, I want to explain some things regarding mental disorders. Mental disorders are on the rise, and it's a very serious topic. It's no laughing matter. If you or someone you love is in need of help and is experiencing mental health issues, help can be found by calling the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988, which provides a 24/7 confidential support. Or you can reach out to a local mental health professional, a crisis hotline, a primary care physician, or a support group like those offered by the National Alliance on Mental Illnesses, known as NAMI. I will link it in our show notes if anyone is interested or in need of assistance. I want to let our listeners understand that Jesse and I take the topic of mental illness very serious. We have experienced loved ones that have suffered severely, and this is why we believe demonic possession is very real. However, so is mental illness. Is it possible to be clinically or spiritually misdiagnosed? Due to a combination of cultural beliefs, spiritual beliefs, lack of understanding, and mental health, religious interpretations, and the fear of the unknown, the answer is simply yes. Some mental illnesses can cause beliefs that resemble demonic possession, such as schizophrenia, depressive illness, and dissociative identity disorder, or DID. A great example of that is schizophrenia. People with schizophrenia may experience psychotic symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, and disorganized thinking. They may also feel like their thoughts and actions are not their own. These symptoms can lead to the belief that they're possessed by demons. As a child, I have personally seen someone very dear to me go through this. It's very hard for me to talk about. And although this person isn't here right now and has passed away, I will say that they were misdiagnosed and mishandled by the church. It was until later in their life. Oh God, I'm going to start crying. I'm sorry. This is a very, even thinking about it, it's very hard for me to talk about because this was somebody that I very much loved. It wasn't until later on in this person's life that they were able to get the proper diagnosis and treatment.
I'm really sorry. I didn't know you went through that.
It's not something that's talked about in our family, but even as a child, I had enough sense to know that it wasn't demons ailing this person, okay? It was something that a doctor needed to intervene, not a priest. There's also other conditions that can resemble possession, such as depressive illness. People with depressive illness may also experience delusional beliefs about demonic possession. DID is another disorder that I discussed earlier. People with DID may be highly suggestible and may misinterpret destructive feelings. This can lead to what some call pseudo-possession. Other factors that can contribute to beliefs about demonic possession include stressful life events, personality disorders, and other medical or psychiatric conditions. I wanted to explain all these things before we get into the real topic for today, which is the possession of Gina.
Gina was a 16-year-old girl from Miami who was a subject of an exorcism, and the ABC televised show 2020 aired the event.
The actual act and rite of exorcism seems like something that is in the Catholic Church's past. Although still officially sanctioned, It is a rarity that the Catholic Church allows exorcisms to take place. There are many guidelines if someone is suffering from possession that the Church needs to follow before the act of an exorcism can actually even be considered. The Church first needs permission from the local bishop. The permission is only granted to a priest who is qualified. A medical examination must be performed to rule out any kind of mental or medical illness. Then, there has to be signs of demonic possession, such as speaking in unknown languages, discerning distant or hidden things, displaying physical strength that is out of proportion to their age or health. Lay faithful may be present. However, they should not recite prayers that are reserved to the exorcist. Also, spiritual guidance should be given to the affected person, followed with confession, forgiveness, penance, and the Mass.
So there's a process they have to follow?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to point out all of the things I read with the case of Gina, because she was a 16-year-old girl, which means she was a minor who could not give consent. Also, Dr. Warren Schelanger, a psychiatrist at Miami Children's Hospital, treated Gina and expressed doubts about her being demonically possessed. He described her activity as psychotic.
So not only was she a minor, but she was already evaluated and giving a medical diagnosis?
Jesse, that's absolutely right.
Aren't those the church's rules?
They are indeed part of the Catholic Church's rules.
So they didn't even follow their own rules.
Sure didn't. Even though she was diagnosed with psychosis by a licensed and practicing psychiatrist, okay? The church officially still approved the exorcism and decided to broadcast it on air.
That's just shameful.
It really is. Dr. Schelanger expressed the ceremony was a significant risk to Gina's health. He said that if part of her delusion was that she was possessed, the ceremony might confirm that delusion.
Why didn't anyone listen to him?
The whole time I was researching this topic, I was wondering the same thing. So, in the segment that I seen online regarding the 2020 episode, there's two priests. Cardinal John O'Connor, the Archbishop of New York. He was the one who was authorized for the exorcism of Gina by the Archdiocese. The segment featured two priests. One is Father A, administering the rite to Gina. The Reverend James LeBar, a consultant on cults to Cardinal John O'Connor and the other priests involved in the ceremony, said the press attention would offer hope to those who may be afflicted.
How was that possible when her own doctor said it would make Gina worse? I think the video would only make people think every and any mental ill person is demonically possessed.
That was my next point. There were other Catholic theologians that believed the telecast would exploit and mislead, promoting the illusion that complicated mental and emotional disorders, making it seem that it could all be fixed with ritual. Here's a quote from Reverend Richard McBrien, a chairman of the theology department at the University of Notre Dame. The Reverend said, and I quote, "Televising this was indefensible. Sprinkle holy water over serious and complex problems is to trivialize them and ensure that they continue. There is question to the Church's judgment for this reason."
Just like we are right now.
Exactly. Gina was hospitalized in the past for psychotic behavior.
Was she even capable of a side consent?
Well, ABC producer Rob Wallace says 2020 obtained releases from Gina and her mother. Her mother was a Colombian immigrant who sought the church's help when psychotherapy proved ineffective. He added, however, that mother and daughter, and this is a quote, felt pressured from the church to cooperate.
I watched the 26-minute video with you. Before you even mentioned her diagnosis to me, I could already tell there was something medically wrong with her. It didn't look like she was demonically possessed. It just looked like an angry 16-year-old who had some sort of mental disorder.
The video was more of a show than an exorcism.
It was just sad, like they had this young girl strapped to a chair. She just barked and babbled gibberish. It made me feel upset when the father yelled to Gina, "You want pain? I'll give you pain," and then pressed very hard with holy water the sign of the cross on her forehead. A grown man pressing that hard on a child's forehead is going to cause some sort of pain, possessed or not.
For me, as a mother, it was very hard to watch. You can clearly tell the girl is disturbed, but not with demons. It's a common symptom for people that have been diagnosed with psychosis to exhibit angry facial expressions. I've personally seen this. That might be mistaken actually for possession, but it's not. I witnessed this growing up, and the person that I witnessed this from was very dear and close to me. This person has passed away. At times, they would appear angry, when you would talk to them, and they would look like they were demonically possessed, but they weren't, because these were symptoms with their later on diagnosis of psychosis.
No disrespect to anyone, but if Gina was really possessed, wouldn't she be strong enough to break away from all the senior citizens holding her? They looked like they needed to be a part of the knitting club, not an exorcism. Again, no disrespect.
I understand. And as, that might be humorous to some people. Honestly, I think they actually do crochet together. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful either. I just agree with you. If it really was a serious exorcism, somebody who is demonically possessed could exhibit strength beyond their means, strength beyond their age, strength beyond their health. They shouldn't put senior citizens to assist in holding that person down, because to me, that's just a cause for injury.
You think they really crochet together?
I heard it on another podcast, but I didn't read that for myself.
The footage of the exorcist meditating at sunset was like a little too extra. The focus was supposed to be on Gina. Also, I didn't understand why they needed to have the medieval style of music in the background.
It was really unnecessary. I agree with you on that. I feel like those things were more for show.
The whole thing was for show. I don't know what you mean by most things.
True. Now, during the exorcism, Gina mentioned 2 demons that she was possessed by. Their names were Zion and Minga. Father A believes these demons have been controlling her.
Fun fact, in Christianity, that refers to a sacred place.
The name Zion?
Yeah.
Okay, that is a fun fact. I didn't know that.
It's also the name of an anime character, but that's a whole different story.
You and your anime. Do you happen to know what the name Minga means?
That can mean a lot of things. In South America Spanish, it means coming together, and then in Latin, it means to carry one another.
You really did your homework on this one and came prepared today. I'm really proud of you, Jessie. Kudos.
I sure did. I took this topic very serious. Even before finding out you knew someone who was suffering from any kind of mental disorder, this girl was only 16 years old. I get the mother was panicked and wanted to help her daughter, but what I don't understand is how the mother and the church went about it. If she's really possessed, why should that be broadcasted to the world? I feel like that's something private and personal. It's kind of like if we go to the bathroom. Do you want it to be televised? Do you want it to be recorded? That's a private and personal moment.
You're exactly right on that one.
Most upsetting about this whole situation is after the whole thing was laid out for everyone to see. Gina was sent home. She heard voices in her bedroom that very night. Father A then went to the home to perform an exorcism.
You would think that would have been their first move, but it wasn't.
Within a few days, the priest and the girl's mother decided she should be brought to the Miami Children's Hospital for further analysis and treatment with the more modern approach to mental problems. She was confined for 2 weeks and then placed on antipsychotic medication. Then she got better with proper treatment.
Exactly right. That whole quote of proper treatment.
So was it demonic possession or demonic obsession by the media and church?
It's something really to think about. Medicine and science can really help a lot, but so can religious practices and beliefs. But never should the two be confused.
Anyway, before we continue on and end this episode, fun fact, medicine is made by plants.
Modern science, you guys.
This episode is brought to you by
Tired of the same old coffee routine? Craving a cup of paradise? Introducing Kona Coffee House LV. Bring the magic of Kona coffee straight to you, wherever you are.
Kona Coffee House LV uses only the finest 100% organic Hawaiian Kona coffee beans made by perfection by Sammy Scrumptious herself. These gluten-free and preservative-free beans are a rare specialty offering a unique and unforgettable taste experience.
No need to wait in line. Kona Coffee House LV is mobile, delivering a taste of paradise. Book Kona Coffee today for corporate events, parties, venues, and so much more.
Follow Kona Coffee on Instagram at Kona Coffee House LV for updates on upcoming events. Visit their website at konacopel.com to learn more and schedule your Kona Coffee experience today. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to savor the world's finest coffee. All right, don't turn this episode off yet. Stick around for our bloopers at the end of our announcements. Our bloopers are a great palate cleanser from these scary and hard topics we discuss. It's a great way to laugh at the end of our show.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in. If you have a spooky story and would like to have it read on air, please write us at milkshakesghost@gmail.com. If you would like to follow our socials, we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Twitter, and Patreon.
If you would like to become a Patreon member, please visit patreon.com/milkshakes and ghosts. I will link it in the show notes along with all of our other socials.
Join Patreon for free monthly gifts and cool perks.
Let's give a shout out to our awesome, amazing Patreon members. Join the trend. Mr. E from the Special Delivery Show. Check out the Special Delivery Show. His broadcast takes interviews to a whole new level. I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Sinister Brew Coffee, where every sip reminds you that the dark side is delicious. Kona Coffee House LV, Hawaiian coffee delivering a taste of paradise. Ashley Lutchman, a reputable notary public at an affordable price. All of our sponsors are listed in our show notes, along with links to contact them. I'd also like to give a big shout out to PsychoFiend13. He posts really cool content and has weekly lives with some amazing people. Go give him a follow. I will link his TikTok account in our show notes.
MNG VIP members also include Deathrock 1875, Electric 222, Clara Jones, John and Jenna, Mothman Prophecy 424, Vampire Rock 222, Blow Blonde Happenings with Kelly and Brenda, Witches for Life 1892, Bigfoot Israel 76, Bloodsucker 95, Nightmares 888, Witchy Talk 65, Dracula Rocks 22, Tina and Ruben, Ramos 1972, Marie, Mary Ann, The Paranormal Duo, Laura and Joanne, Bruce the All Spooky, Harmony, Joan of Arc, The Dark Side, Ronald H., Joe Santana, Myra Miles from That's So Spooky, Jada Kumar H., Tony S., Jean from The Truth Is Out There, Nadia and Edward, Carl and Becca, Mandy and Kenneth, Jules and Christina, Joel from The Paranormal Countdown, Alan, Death Star 1, Maxine, Terra Screams, Jules M., Victor and Myra, Haunted Canadian History, Melissa and Dan, The Truth Is Out There with Carly and Allison.
Go, girl! That was a mouthful. Thank you all so much for being Patreon members. We appreciate each and every single one of you. We love you guys so much.
And remember, keep drinking milkshakes.
And keep being spooky!
This episode is brought to you by
Looking for a reputable notary republic at an affordable price? Well, look no further. Mrs. Ashley Lutchman is now taking appointments and accepting new clients. Jesse and I needed some documents to sign for our podcast.
We wanted someone with experience who was well known and didn't cost a fortune.
That's right. One of our good friends had worked with Mrs. Lutchman regarding some legal paperwork they needed notarized and recommended her to us.
She was professional, efficient, and affordable.
If you need important documents notarized, email Ashley Lutchman at ashleylutchman@gmail.com. Ashley Lutchman can be found on Instagram and TikTok. I will link her socials and her email in our show notes.
Ashley Lutchman is remote and commissioned in the state of Florida.
It's time for bloopers.
As much I would.
Or psychiatric. What the fuck is wrong with me today?
It's spooky season, 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 spooky season.